Good morning. This is Dylan Jovine with Behind the Markets. Happy Monday. Today is Monday, June 9th, and it is National Children's Day. And, it's a day where you're supposed to slow down your life and appreciate the children in your life, your kids, your neighbor's kid, whatever it is, just children. And I'll tell you something, since I have a 16-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son, I pretty much do that every day. But anyway, it's a day where I will spend I'll try to be more mindful of that as I go about my day when I get home from work and see my kids and all this other stuff. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about something Elon Musk posted on X as his public feud with Trump just began to spiral. And it's caused a lot of conversation among my friend group this weekend. Elon Musk says, quote, "Tariffs will cause a recession in the second half of the year," end quote. A lot of folks have said, what do you think about this? What do you think, Dylan? What do you think? And my answer is maybe. What I can say is this: it really depends on a few different factors. Are the tariffs kept high? I know we raised steel tariffs to 50%, which I support, even though it sends the average price of cars up by some estimates of $1,500, some cars. But my answer to that, I support that because for national security, I think that we need massive steel capacity in this country. Just remember, in World War II, it was our capacity, our ability to out-manufacture our competitors, the other belligerents, that really led us to win, and the backbone of that is steel. But I can say this, one thing I've been keeping an eye on the past month or two is our rare earths, really. In China, we talked about this a lot over the years. We did a special report on this a couple years ago. China dominates rare earths, and most people think that rare earths are just used in electric vehicles, but that's just not true. They're used in regular cars. They're used all the time. Magnets for small motors that control AC, windows, whatever it is. They're used in catalytic converters, a whole bunch of things. In other words, you cannot build a modern car without rare earths, period. Some people say that they are more important than chips, semiconductors for cars, for modern cars. You just can't build it. And China controls over 90% of the refined supply of them. Now, since President Trump began his trade war, China has reacted to that by using the leverage they have. They control 90% of the supply. So what they've done is anybody who wants to buy rare earths from them, Ford, General Motors, Suzuki, whatever, Hyundai, you name it, they've been saying you need a license. And they've only been giving licenses really to their friends. And they've been blocking us from getting rare earths. This is what has put so much pressure on President Trump to reverse or walk back his very aggressive trade policy with China. What's interesting here, and this is not such a good thing, foreign automakers have been talking about this. They've just been talking about it all the time. But American automakers have been very quiet about this under President Trump because they're afraid of angering him. But quietly, last month, Ford shut down a factory in Chicago that made Explorer SUVs for a week. They idled the plant for a week. Suzuki's idle plants. There's a bunch of this kind of stuff happening on the down low that's not really being reported widely in the American press. It's more being reported in outlets like Detroit Auto News, industry rags, which I read. So Elon said there would be a recession in the second half of the year. And if factories continue to get shut down, yes, but this raises a bunch of interesting questions. One is, how do we get rare earths without basically walking back our entire trade policy? That's one question that's very interesting. President Trump's trade war. The other question it raises is, did the president know this before slapping these tariffs? Did he just think China didn't have leverage on us with rare earths? That's another question that I know people in positions of power are asking themselves. So it raises a lot of questions. But in terms of the actions that one can take, that I've been taking to prepare for a potential recession in the second half of the year at any time, and I don't really invest normally according to recessions, but I've sold a lot of positions. I'm sitting on a lot of cash, and that cash just isn't sitting in the bank. It's really sitting in short-term instruments. So basically what I have is, as I've talked about here many times, short-term U.S. Treasury bonds. I actually invest in mutual funds that invest in short-term Treasury instruments, 30-day, 60-day, 90-day, under a year, T-bills, only U.S. Treasury T-bills. That's where I have my money because it's very liquid. You get paid a decent rate, over 4%. And I'm just waiting for opportunities to come as they come. Also, the market is pretty expensive. There are pockets where you can find opportunity, but overall, the market is very expensive. It's crazy. I don't think the market is as expensive as it was before the trade war. So I don't view it as discounting the trade war at all or pricing that in accordingly. And I certainly am not sure with the budget bill, as the House passed it, that's being represented either in terms of the impact on borrowing for this country. Anyway, that's all I have. I just wanted to give you some thoughts, something to chew on today on this Monday morning about rare earth and the hidden price of tariffs in this country, because that's really what it is. Because again, the domestic automakers are afraid of angering President Trump, so they're not really talking about it. So you're not really seeing this talked about widely, but we're going to talk about it because we're stewards of our own money and we have to be completely practical and rational in our investment operations. Anyway, that's all I have. Have a wonderful Monday. I'll see you tomorrow.